Attention, new details on stimulus checks and how they've been so massively powerful for the low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries and why we need more right away. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now in this video, I want to discuss the details of a couple new reports that were just released showing how massively powerful stimulus checks have been for the low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries and why we need more right away, as we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So let's get into it and discuss all the details. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so. And because I am your one and only daily advocate, I'm here for you right by your side every single day, watching all this new information hitting the wire, doing all the necessary research, and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay updated with what's actually going on, and most importantly, how it's going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course anything out there right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of as a low income or fixed income beneficiary. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and remember, I'm here to help you out in any way that I can, as that is my dedication, that's my commitment, and that is my promise to you and everybody right here in this community. All right, thanks again. Let's get into it and talk about the details of these reports and the shocking numbers behind all of this. But at the same time, this paints a very clear picture as to why more stimulus checks are needed, highly focused on the low income and fixed income beneficiaries. All right, now in this video, I'm actually going to be referencing about 3 different reports that were recently released, and I want to bring all of this to your attention because some really great information was shown here in these reports. And again, a lot of good stuff here showing the power behind the stimulus check, but at the same time, more are definitely needed, like right away, okay? So I think we all completely understand that. I don't need to tell you that. You completely understand that checks are needed for a lot of people right now. So at the same time, I do want to point this out as well. These reports are also focusing on those individuals who are either at or below 200% of the federal poverty line on a household level. So let me explain that for just a second here, because this is also a very important metric to pay attention to. So the reports are pointing out that as a household, the household income being 200% of the federal poverty line or less, so about $27,000 or less as a household income. So essentially, if your household has an income of $27,000 or less per year, this pretty much falls into your category, okay? So that's what I wanted to point out to, and why I want to make that very clear, because it's actually very important, because these reports are based on basically households with an income of about, call it $27,000 or less per year, and that's kind of what this is focused on. All right, so here's what it comes down to. Before 2020, so prior to COVID coming in and before we got the 3 stimulus checks that started in early 2020, there were 140 million households in this country that were at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. It's a lot of households, right? 140 million households. That encompasses like 50% of the population, like just under 50% of the population. That's a lot of people. Well, it's actually 43% of the population is what they cited in the report. So again, that was at that time. Now, obviously, as a result of the last couple of years here, more people have been added to the country. The population is higher. So as a result, that's what it really comes down to. However, over the course of just 2 years, between 2020 and 2021, those individuals, as in the households that we were just referring to, 140 million households living at or below the federal poverty line, because of the 3 stimulus checks that we received, as well as the advanced child tax credit payments, and of course the enhanced unemployment benefits, all 3 of these, we actually reduced the number of households living at 200% or below of the federal poverty line. It reduced from 43% down to 34%, or 112 million households. So it reduced by 28 million households of people that were living at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. In other words, those 28 million households were lifted above that level. So again, this just shows the massive power behind the stimulus checks. And again, these reports actually pointed toward the vast majority of these households were lifted up because of stimulus checks. Incredible, right? That's a lot of people. However, here's the major problem behind this. We're still looking at 112 million households that are still sitting at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. Do you see a major problem here? Yeah, it's still 112 million households. So again, that's about 33%, or 33 or so percent of the population as of right now. considering as of right now, the population in the United States is about 133 million people. And obviously, that's changing every day, every week, every month. That continues to change, but it's sitting at about that level. So again, it's still about 1/3 of the population sitting at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. Do you see a major problem with that? I certainly do, right? Not a good situation, especially for the people that are below the federal poverty line. What that is, right? That's, again, a very concerning numbers right there as well. Now, another report have gone on to show, and this one is specifically focused on Social Security going into 2023 as well, and I want to bring this to your attention as well, because this encompasses about 70 million people as well. And I thought this is actually pretty interesting because this also pertains to a lot of you right here in this community. So a new survey was also conducted, and they showed that 55% of respondents 55% of respondents, by the way, who receive fixed income benefits said that the annual cost of living adjustment for 2023, the 8.7%, is not nearly high enough, and it's not going to bring them out of the financial kind of disparity that everybody is in right now. So again, 55% of people said it's not enough. 8.7%, it's not going to do anything financially for me that I actually need it to do. So again, it's showing here that things like the annual cost of living adjustment simply are not cutting it anymore. You know, this raise goes out to about 70 million people every year, you know, the annual cost of living adjustment. And you can clearly see, usually that is supposed to come in and raise benefits and make things all, you know, perfect for people who are receiving fixed income benefits. But you can clearly see here, 55% of the people that responded to this survey are saying, it's not going to do anything for me. Even the 8.7%, the biggest raise that we've seen in 40 plus years since 1981, one of the biggest raises we've ever seen in the history of Social Security, is nowhere near going to fix the finances for fixed income beneficiaries. Again, do you see a major problem with that? I certainly do. It's not working. The plan is not working. So again, if the plan doesn't work after a certain period of time, do you think we need to rewrite the plan? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a genius or anything like that, but in my mind, I would say if the plan doesn't work after, like, I don't know, a year or two or something like that, it's time to go back and rewrite the plan. But clearly, maybe 40 plus years hasn't really done it yet. Or the last couple of years here with stimulus checks, again, they haven't rewritten the plan. Anyway, just saying, these are based on the reports. Now, another report out there is also showing 75% of the American population right now supports another round of stimulus checks. 75% of the population. So in other words, 3 out of every 4 people walking around the streets right now are in support of another round of stimulus checks. Does that give you a little glimpse into what is really going on with the finances of the American people right now? Yes, absolutely. It shows 100% what is really going on with the people right now. And you can clearly see people don't have any money. That's why we're asking Congress, please send us another check, because people simply don't have the money as well. At the same time, I want to point this out as well, and I just talked about this not that long ago in a separate video, but I want to throw it in here extra as a little bonus as well. In the third quarter of 2022, Americans added $351 billion of additional debt just in those 3 months alone. July, August, and September of 2022, Americans added $351 billion of additional debt, a lot of which was also included in credit card debt. Why? Because we're going on a spending spree? No, it's because people don't have the money, and therefore we're not using cash, we're not using checks, we're not using debit cards, we're not using things like this, but rather people are floating balances on credit cards because they don't have the money. And if you don't have the money to pay for something, you float it on a credit card, and then the balance just sits there. And that is called debt, consumer debt, right? And it's all added into this equation and this big number that I just gave you, that $351 billion, which, by the way, is the biggest increase in consumer debt that we've seen in one single quarter since 2007. 15 years ago, or actually over 15 years ago, was the last time we saw consumer debt increase at that pace in one single quarter. Again, is that a little bit alarming? Is that a little bit shocking? Is that a little bit concerning to anybody else, or is it just me? Again, I think we're all here on the same page, right? We all see this. Why doesn't Congress see this? Maybe they do. And actually, I'm going to say this much. They probably do see this, but they pretend like, didn't see it. Don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So anyway, you can see here from all these reports, millions and millions of people still living in poverty. So the major report that I want to talk about here is the first one that I was describing earlier, where basically what I was saying is because of the stimulus checks, 28 million households were lifted above poverty, okay? However, we've still got 112 million households in this country that are either at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. Long story short, and the moral of the story is, if they sent out another round of stimulus checks, what would that do? Okay, it would lift, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number, maybe, 10 million more households out of poverty. Let's just say they sent out 2 more checks. What would that do? Maybe another 10 million would go out of poverty. So now we're below 100 million households. Again, just saying, let's just say they sent out, a 12 months worth of stimulus checks. And again, do I really think 12 months worth of stimulus checks are going to go out? I'm going to be honest with you. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just being real with you right now. But I'm just saying, in theory, let's just talk about it. If they were to send out ongoing monthly payments for, let's just say, a year, those 112 million households would no longer be in poverty. We would have essentially no poverty in this country anymore. Now again, obviously there would still be some isolated incidents where some people, obviously would fall through the cracks because that is the situation. That is with it, that happens every single time, right? There's always somebody, some group, some percentage of people that fall through the cracks. Unfortunately, that's just what happens. It happens every single time with everything. There's a small percentage that just something happens and they just are missed for whatever reason, right? So again, of course, that would happen as well. That would be an option, and that would be something that would happen. But for the most part, there'd be virtually no poverty in this country anymore. And again, do the politicians want that? Well, they say that they do. But again, as we've always said before, you gotta watch what they do, not what they say, right? That's most important. Whatever they do is most important. What they say, well, whatever. You just kind of take it with a grain of salt because we all know the politicians say one thing and they do the opposite. But either way, they've all said, we've got to eradicate poverty in America. Yeah? Then what are you doing about it, right? Again, going back to guaranteed basic income, universal basic income, things like this, again, anti-poverty measures. Just like some of these other programs that are out there, like SSI, and so many of these other programs out there that claim to be anti-poverty programs. If that's the case, then why are we dealing with such huge numbers right now, right? Anyway, I thought this was super interesting, and again, I wanted to bring this to your attention because this is some pretty shocking information, but at the same time, very informative information, which is really nice to see all this information coming out because, as I've described before, we continue to see, even all these years, after stimulus checks were distributed, the first ones going out in early 2020, late 2020, early 2021, things like this. All this time later, we continue to see all these reports coming out, just like what I'm talking about here in this video. And I'm showing that you can clearly see these stimulus checks had a massive impact on the people. Now again, there's also the talk out there that, the stimulus checks caused all the inflation we're dealing with right now. No, they didn't. Not even close. The stimulus checks cost in total, all 3 of them, going out to about 85% of the population. In total, they cost less than $1 trillion. In fact, they cost less than $900 billion out of the $6 trillion of new money that was printed. So, do you think $900 billion caused all the inflation when $6 trillion of new money was printed? Not a chance. It's not how it works, okay? So anyway, it's all about money supply, velocity of money, and things like that. And again, $900 billion in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about $6 trillion, it's a small percentage considering where the other 5.1 trillion go. Not billion, trillion. Again, that's the big question we're all wondering, right? Anyway, hope this one helps you out. Again, I want to keep you updated with all this stuff going on right now. There's a lot of different reports coming out, new announcements, new information hitting the wire, new bills, packages, proposals. Congress has always got something up their sleeve. Doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it, or doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It's just Congress always has something going on. And again, I'm watching all this stuff closely. I'm checking multiple different sources every single day. I'm watching the information as it's hitting the wire, and I'm bringing it to you here in these short videos. So again, if you haven't done so, please make sure to subscribe down below. I'm here for you in any way that I can be. That's my dedication, that's my commitment, and that's my promise to you and everybody here in the community. Also, go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel, and of course, share them with your friends, family, and social media. Until next time, enjoy your day, subscribe down below, and I'll catch you again later.